3 weeks had passed since the demonstration that changed everything. The space station Harmony Point had become a very different place. Instead of tense meetings between suspicious species, it was now filled with the sounds of learning and cooperation. Maya stood in the same room where she had faced Zarathek, but now the room looked completely different. Half of it was set up like a human martial arts training area, with mats on the floor and traditional weapons hanging on the walls. The other half looked like a Veltari engineering laboratory, with computers and advanced materials testing equipment. Again, Zarathek said from across the room, "Show me the wrist movement again." The alien commander was holding her own set of nunchucks. They were made from Veltari smart metal that could change weight and density. Maya had helped design them over the past few weeks. Maya demonstrated the technique slowly. Remember, it is not about strength. It is about timing and rhythm. Let the chain do the work for you. Zarathek tried to copy the movement. Her first few attempts were clumsy because her hands were much larger than human hands. But she was learning quickly. Maya had discovered that the Veltari were very good students once they put aside their pride. "Better," Maya said encouragingly. "Now try to feel the resonance. Every material has its own song. You need to learn to hear it." On the other side of the room, Dr. Sophie Kim was working with a group of Veltari engineers. They were testing new armor designs that could handle both energy weapons and resonance attacks. "The key is to break up the regular patterns in the metal," Sophie explained as she showed them her computer model. "If we make the molecular structure irregular, it becomes much harder for resonance waves to build up." Commander Kathira was part of the engineering team. She had become very interested in human physics after seeing what Maya could do. "This is fascinating," she said. "We always tried to make our materials as uniform as possible. But you are saying that irregularity can sometimes be stronger?" "Exactly," Sophie replied. "In nature, the strongest materials often have random patterns. Tree bark, seashells, even human bones are stronger because they are not perfectly uniform." Luna. Rodriguez walked into the room carrying a tablet with good news. The peace talks between Earth and the Veltari Empire were going much better than anyone had hoped. Both sides were eager to share knowledge and learn from each other. The Earth. "Council just approved the cultural exchange program," Luna announced. "We can have up to 50 humans working with Veltari scientists, and 50 Veltari can come to Earth to study our martial arts and traditional crafts." Maya smiled as she heard the news. "My grandfather would be so proud," she thought to herself. "His teachings about wooden sticks and rope are going to help bring peace between the stars." Zarathek had been listening while she practiced. She set down her nunchucks and walked over to Maya. "I have a question for you," she said. "Why did You really challenged me that day? You could have just demonstrated your weapons without fighting me." Maya thought carefully before answering. "Because demonstrations only show technique. But real understanding comes from testing that technique against a worthy opponent. I needed to show everyone, including myself, that traditional knowledge could still be useful in a modern world. And you chose me because I was the most skeptical," Zarathek said with a laugh that no longer sounded like hissing. Over the past weeks, she had learned to laugh more like humans did. "I chose you because you were the strongest," Maya corrected. "If I could make my point with the strongest warrior, then everyone would believe it." One of the younger Veltari warriors raised her hand. "Maya, can you teach us more about human philosophy? We understand the physics now, but we want to learn about the thinking behind your martial arts." Maya nodded and gestured for everyone to sit in a circle on the training mats. This had become a daily tradition. After the physical training, they would have discussions about the ideas and beliefs that guided different fighting styles. "My grandfather always said that the best warriors are like rivers," Maya began. "They are strong, but they are also flexible. They can carve through mountains, but they do it by finding the path of least resistance." "What does that mean in practical terms?" Commander Kathira asked. "It means that you should not always try to overpower your problems," Maya explained. "Sometimes the best solution is to go around them or under them, or to wait for them to solve themselves." Dr. Sophie Kim looked up from her computer. "That is actually very similar to how we design engineering solutions on Earth. We call it elegant simplicity. The best designs are often the ones that solve complex problems with simple methods." Zarathek leaned forward with interest. "Give us an example." Sophie thought for a moment. "Well, Maya's victory over your armor is a perfect example. Instead of trying to build a weapon powerful enough to break through your defenses, she found a simple way to make your defenses turn themselves off. That is very clever, one of the Veltari engineers said admiringly. We always try to build bigger and stronger weapons when we face strong defenses. But this human found a way to make strength into weakness. Maya stood up and picked up her original nunchucks, the wooden ones her grandfather had given her. These weapons have taught me something important about life. Sometimes the old ways are not primitive. Sometimes they are just waiting for the right moment to show their wisdom. She looked around the room at all the humans and Veltari working together. My grandfather could never have imagined that his lessons about wooden sticks would one day help bring peace between species from different stars. But the principles he taught me, patience, understanding, and respect for all knowledge, those principles work anywhere in the universe. Luna Rodriguez made a note on her tablet. Maya, would you be willing to write a book about your grandfather's teachings? I think many people across the galaxy would want to read it. Only if Commander Zarathek helps me write it, Maya replied. This story belongs to both our species now. Zarathek stood up and placed her hand on Maya's shoulder. It was a gesture of friendship that would have been impossible just a few weeks earlier. I would be honored to help tell this story, Zarathek said, but I want to add my own lesson to it. I want to tell people about the danger of becoming too proud of your technology. My people conquered 17 star systems, but we almost missed the chance to learn something valuable because we thought we already knew everything. Dr. Sophie Kim saved her work and closed her computer. I think we should call the book Wooden, Sticks and Starships, How Ancient Wisdom Shapes the Future. Maya laughed. That is a good title, but I have a better one. She held up her nunchucks so everyone could see them. Let's call it The Alien Scoffed at Human Nunchucks Until Her Armor Hit the Floor. Everyone in the room burst into laughter, including Zarathek. The sound of humans and Veltari laughing together echoed through the corridors of Harmony Point Station. 6 months later, the book became the most popular publication in both human and Veltari space. It was translated into 17 different alien languages. More importantly, it inspired a new way of thinking about cooperation between species. The Veltari began sending their young warriors to Earth to study human martial arts and philosophy. Humans traveled to Veltari worlds to learn about advanced engineering and energy physics. Together, they created new technologies that neither species could have developed alone. Maya continued to teach on Harmony Point, but now her classes included students from many different worlds. She never tired of seeing the look of amazement on alien faces when they first understood how simple physics could overcome complex technology. And sometimes, late at night when the station was quiet, Maya would practice alone with her grandfather's nunchucks. She would think about how two pieces of wood connected by a chain had somehow connected two civilizations. Thank you, grandfather, she would whisper to the stars. Your lessons about humility and respect have traveled farther than you ever dreamed. The nunchucks spun silently through the air, creating patterns that spoke of ancient wisdom and future possibilities. In the vast darkness of space, they had become a symbol of hope, proof that understanding and cooperation could bridge any gap, no matter how wide or how strange. The alien had indeed scoffed at human nunchucks, but in the end, it was laughter and friendship that hit the floor, replacing the armor of pride and prejudice that had kept two great peoples apart. And throughout the galaxy, other species heard this story and began to wonder what they might learn from each other. If only they were brave enough to set aside their assumptions and listen to the wisdom of wooden sticks and open hearts. 2 hours later, Jake walked into the station's gym. It was a big room with windows that looked out into space. The gym had machines and weights for many different types of aliens. Some equipment looked normal to Jake, but other pieces were strange. Shapes for species with different bodies. Lyrale and Zara were already there, standing near the entrance. They had brought more friends with them. Jake! Lyrale called out when she saw him. Thank you for coming. I hope you do not mind, but I invited some other scientists. Jake looked around and saw 5 other aliens waiting for him. There was another elf with short blue hair, a blob-like creature that seemed to be made of green jelly, and 3 others he didn't recognize. This is Dr. Kira Songweaver, Lyrale said, pointing to the blue-haired elf. She studies how different species' bodies are built. Dr. Songweaver bowed her head. I am very honored to meet you, human Jake. And this is Thex Gell, Lyra Lai continued, pointing to the green blob creature. Thex studies strength and how long different species can work. Before getting tired, the blob creature made a sound like water bubbling. Hello, strong human, it said in a voice that sounded like it was coming from underwater. There is also Captain Vera Nightshade, Lyra Lai said, pointing to an older elf with gray hair and scars on her arms. She used to be in the military, Captain. Nightshade looked at Jake with sharp eyes. She seemed more serious than the others. I have fought in many battles, she said. I am curious to see what makes humans so durable. Jake felt a little nervous. He had expected to show 1 or 2 aliens how to use a treadmill. Now there were 6 aliens staring at him like he was about to do something amazing. So, what? Do you want to see? Jake asked. Dr. Songweaver held up a strange device. We brought equipment to measure your strength and movement. Would you be willing to try our universal fitness test? What does that involve? Thex Gell bubbled excitedly. Simple exercises. Push your body up from the ground, lift weights, show us how humans train for war. I don't train for war, Jake said quickly. I just try to stay healthy. Captain Nightshade raised an eyebrow. All physical training is preparation for battle, whether you know it or not. Jake wasn't sure how to argue with that, so he just nodded. Okay, what do you want me to do first? Lyra Lai pointed to an open area on the floor. Perhaps you could show us how humans push their bodies up from the ground? Our research says this is common human exercise. You mean push-ups? Yes, Zara said, clapping her 4 hands. Push-ups! Jake walked to the open area and got down on the floor. The aliens all gathered around him in a circle. He felt like he was in a zoo, but he tried to ignore it. I'll just do a few, Jake said, getting into position. He started doing push-ups at his normal pace. It felt easy and comfortable. He could hear the aliens making soft sounds of surprise, but he didn't think much of it. After 20 push-ups, Jake heard Dr. Songweaver say something in an alien language that sounded worried. After 30 push-ups, Thex Gell made a loud bubbling sound. After 40 push-ups, Captain Nightshade whispered, Impossible. Jake reached 50 push-ups and stopped. He stood up and brushed off his hands. There you go! Basic push-ups! The aliens were all staring at him with wide eyes. Lyra Lai was writing notes so fast that her hands were just a blur. How do you feel? Dr. Songweaver asked in a shaky voice. Fine, Jake said. I could do more if you want. No, Zara said quickly. That is enough. Captain Nightshade stepped forward. She looked pale, which was strange because Jake didn't think elves could get pale. Human Jake, how many of those exercises can you do before you must stop? Jake thought about it. I don't know. Maybe 150? 200 on a good day? The gym went completely silent. Even the humming of the air system seemed to stop. Thex Gell made a sound like a deflating balloon. 200? Without dying? Dying? Jake laughed. They're just push-ups. Nobody dies from push-ups. Dr. Songweaver was looking at her measuring device and shaking her head. This cannot be right. According to our readings, you just did 50 exercises that would put most elves in the hospital. What do you mean? Lyra Lai looked up from her notes. An elf in good health can do maybe 5 push-ups before muscles fail. 10 would cause injury. 20 would be life-threatening. Jake stared at her. Seriously? Cathari are stronger, Zara said. We might do 15 before serious harm, but 50? She shook her 4 heads. 50 is impossible for any known species. Captain Nightshade was studying Jake like he was a dangerous weapon. In my military training, the strongest elf warriors could do 12 push-ups. Only 12. Those warriors could fight in battle for hours, but 12 push-ups was the maximum. Jake felt confused. But it's just basic exercise. Human kids do push-ups in school. Kids? Dr. Songweaver whispered. Yeah, like 10-year-olds. They might not do 50, but they can do 10 or 20. The aliens all looked at each other with frightened expressions. Perhaps we should test the weightlifting, Thex Gell said nervously. They walked over to the universal weight machine. It was designed to test the strength of any species by adjusting for their size and biology. Dr. Songweaver connected her measuring device to it. This machine is calibrated for the strongest known species in the galaxy, she explained. The maximum. Weight is set for Graxian warriors, who are the most powerful beings we know of. How much can they lift? Jake asked. About 90 of your human pounds, Lorelei said. It is considered godlike strength. Jake looked at the weight machine. 90 pounds was what he used for warm-up exercises. Should I start with something light? Light? Captain Nightshade asked. Yeah, like maybe 150 pounds. To start? The aliens all stepped back from him. Dr. Songweaver checked her device 3 times before speaking. Human Jake? You just asked to start with almost twice the maximum strength in our records. Oh, Jake thought about it. Maybe I should start lower then. He set the machine to 100 pounds, which felt very light to him. He did 10 easy repetitions. The measuring device started making beeping sounds. What's wrong with it? Jake asked. Dr. Songweaver was staring at the screen. Nothing is wrong. It is reading correctly. It says you just lifted the equivalent of... She stopped talking and looked at her friends. Equivalent of what? Lorelei took the device and read the screen. Her face went completely white. It says, you just lifted the weight of a small spacecraft 10 times without effort. Jake increased the weight to 200 pounds and did 10 more repetitions. The device started making louder beeping sounds. Captain Nightshade sat down heavily on a nearby bench. In our oldest legends, she said in a quiet voice, there are stories of ancient gods who could move mountains with their hands. Warriors, so powerful that armies would flee at the sight of them. I always thought they were just stories. What are you talking about? Jake asked. She looked up at him with something that might have been fear or respect. I am talking about you, human Jake. What you just did. Lifting that weight like it was nothing. In our culture, only the gods of war could do such things. Jake set down the weights and looked around at all the aliens. They were staring at him like he had just grown a second head. Look, he said, I'm just a normal guy. There are millions of humans stronger than me. Some people can lift 4 or 500 pounds. Professional athletes can do crazy stuff. 400 pounds? Thexgel made a sound like a dying whale. Professional athletes? Lorelei whispered. Yeah, people who compete in sports. They train all day and get really strong and fast. Dr. Songweaver was writing notes again, but her hands were shaking so much that Jake couldn't tell if she was actually writing words. How many of these professional athletes exist on your world? Captain Nightshade asked. I don't know. Thousands? Maybe hundreds of thousands, if you count all the different sports. The gym was silent again. Jake was starting to feel uncomfortable. These aliens were looking at him like he was some kind of monster. Maybe we should stop here, he said. Yes, Lorelei said quickly. Yes, that would be good. We have much data to study. As Jake left the gym, he could hear the aliens talking in worried voices behind him. He caught a few words like impossible, legends, and gods of war. Jake just wanted to go back to his ship and have a normal dinner. He had no idea that across the station, word was already spreading about the human who could lift impossible weights and do magical exercises. He had no idea that he had just become the most famous being on Nexus Prime. The next morning, Jake woke up in his small room on the Aurora's Dream. He had slept well and felt ready for another normal day of work. But when he walked into the ship's dining room for breakfast, he found his captain waiting for him with a worried look. Jake, Captain Martinez said, we need to talk. What's wrong? Jake asked, pouring himself some coffee. I've been getting messages all night from station security. Apparently you've become famous. Jake almost spit out his coffee. Famous? For what? Something about demonstrating superhuman strength to a group of alien scientists. They want to interview you. Actually, they want to study you. Before Jake could answer, his personal communicator started beeping. He had 7 new messages waiting for him. The first message was from Lorelei. Her voice sounded excited and scared at the same time. Jake, please contact me as soon as possible. We have discovered something very important about your species. The second message was from Dr. Songweaver. Human Jake, we have been researching your people all night. We must speak with you immediately. The other messages were from aliens he had never met. They all wanted to meet him, study him, or ask him questions about human strength. This is weird, Jake said. Captain Martinez nodded. It gets weirder. Station Command wants to know if all humans are like you or if you're special somehow. I'm not special, I'm just a regular guy. That's what I told them, but they don't believe me. Jake's communicator beeped again. This time it was a live call. From Lyrelay. Jake, she said when he answered. Thank goodness you are awake. Can you come to the research lab? We have found something incredible. What did you find? We cannot discuss it over the communicator. It is too important. Please come quickly. Jake looked at his captain, who shrugged. Might as well go see what they want. But be careful. Word is spreading that you're some kind of superhuman. I'm not superhuman, Jake said for what felt like the 100th time. The research lab was in a different part of the station. When Jake arrived, he found not just Lyrelay and her friends, but a whole crowd of aliens. There were elves, Cathari, some species he had never seen before, and even a few humans from other ships. Lyrelay rushed over to him when he walked in. Jake, we have been researching human history and biology all night. What we found is disturbing. Disturbing. How? Dr. Songweaver stepped forward. She looked like she hadn't slept at all. We accessed the galactic database of human activities. Your wars, your sports, your daily life. Jake, your species is terrifying. We're not terrifying. We're pretty peaceful most of the time. A new alien that Jake hadn't met before spoke up. She was an elf with long white hair and gold eyes. My name is Maya Starlight. I study different cultures. Jake, your people have something called football, where you crash into each other at high speed for entertainment. Yeah, so? So, Maya's voice got higher. The impact force of a human football collision would kill most species instantly. You do it for fun. Another alien, this one looking like a giant butterfly, fluttered its wings nervously. We found videos of human boxing, where you hit each other in the head repeatedly until one falls down. This is considered sport? Well, yeah. It's boxing. Thex Gell bubbled loudly. And we found information about human military training, something called Marines who can run 26 miles without stopping. That's just a marathon, Jake said. Lots of people can do that. Lots of people? Dr. Songweaver shouted, then caught herself and spoke more quietly. Jake, the fastest elf runner can go maybe 5 miles before dying of exhaustion. You are saying lots of humans can run 5 times that distance? Some people run ultramarathons. Those are like 50 or 100 miles. The room went completely silent. Jake could hear his own heartbeat. Captain Nightshade had been quiet until now, but she stepped forward with a grim expression. Jake, we also researched human warfare. Your species has fought wars continuously for thousands of years. Not anymore, Jake said quickly. Earth is peaceful now. But you did fight. We found records of human soldiers carrying 100 pounds of equipment and walking for days without rest, fighting in conditions that would kill other species in minutes, surviving injuries that would be instantly fatal to anyone else. Maya pulled out a data pad and showed Jake the screen. We found a video of something called the World's Strongest Man competition. Humans lifting cars over their heads, pulling trucks with ropes. Jake, the strongest human in these videos, could lift more weight than our largest construction machines. Jake looked at the video. It showed Eddie Hall deadlifting 500 kilograms. That's really impressive, he said. I can't do anything close to that. You cannot? Lyrelay asked hopefully. No way. I can deadlift maybe 300 pounds on a good day. Those guys are incredible. The hope in Lyrelay's eyes died. Jake, 300 pounds is still 10 times stronger than the strongest elf in our records. And this Eddie Hall person, Dr. Songweaver said, reading from her notes, he lifted over 1,000 pounds. That is the weight of a small building. A Cathari scientist Jake hadn't met before raised 2 of her 4 hands. We also found information about human recreational activities. Rock climbing, where you hang from cliffs with just your fingers. Swimming in frozen water. Something called extreme sports, where you jump out of aircraft for pleasure. Base jumping is pretty fun, Jake said without thinking. You have done this? Maya asked in horror. A few times. You should try it. Every alien in the room took a step back from him. Jake, Lyrelay said carefully, we are beginning to understand that what seems normal to you is impossible to us, but we found something else. Something that explains everything. What? Dr. Songweaver activated a large screen on the wall. It showed a map of the galaxy with different colored dots representing different species' home worlds. Every species in the galaxy evolved on worlds with low gravity, peaceful environments, and abundant resources, she explained. We had few predators, little competition, easy lives. The screen zoomed in on a blue and green planet. Except for Earth, she continued. Your world has high gravity, extreme weather, deadly predators, limited resources, and natural disasters. Most of the galaxy considers Earth barely habitable. It's not that bad, Jake said. Not that bad? Maya pulled up more data. Your planet has creatures called sharks, bears, and lions that hunt and kill for food. You have earthquakes, hurricanes, volcanoes, and ice ages. The gravity is so strong that most species would be crushed just by visiting. Captain Nightshade nodded grimly. We understand now why humans are so strong and tough. Your world forced you to become warriors just to survive. We're not warriors, Jake protested. Jake, Lyra Leaf said gently, you told us yesterday that human children do push-ups in school. Children. Learning exercises that would cripple adult elves. That's just PE class. Physical education, Dr. Songweaver read from her notes. Training. Young humans for physical combat from an early age. Yes, this confirms our theory. Thex Gell bubbled nervously. And we found that humans consider their own world normal and peaceful now. If this is peaceful, what were you like when you were at war? Jake was getting frustrated. Look, we're just regular people trying to live our lives. We're not some kind of super warriors. Jake, Maya said softly, in our legends, we have stories of ancient gods who could walk through fire, lift mountains, and fight armies single-handed. We thought they were just myths. They are myths. No, Captain Nightshade said firmly. They are memories. Ancient memories of the first time our species met humans, long ago. We remembered you as gods because compared to us, that is what you are. That's crazy, Jake said. Is it? Lirelai asked. Jake, yesterday you lifted weights that our legends say only gods could move. You did exercises that our myths describe as divine powers. You told us there are hundreds of thousands of humans stronger than you. Dr. Songweaver nodded. We are starting to understand that humans are not just another species. You are something completely different, something that evolution created, on a world so harsh that you became living weapons. We're not weapons. Then what would you call a being that can lift 10 times its body weight, run incredible distances, survive in conditions that kill other species, and fight without fear? Maya asked. Jake opened his mouth to argue, but found he didn't have a good answer. In our oldest texts, Captain Nightshade said quietly, there are warnings about the return of the warrior gods, beings of incredible strength who would come from the stars to reshape the galaxy. I always thought they were just scary stories to tell children. She looked directly at Jake. I do not think they were stories anymore. The room fell silent again. Jake felt like everyone was waiting for him to say something, but he had no idea what to say. Finally, his communicator beeped with an emergency alert. The message was from station security. Pirate ships detected approaching Nexus Prime. All civilians report to emergency shelters immediately. Jake's first instinct was to help with the evacuation. But when he looked around the room, he saw that all the aliens were looking at him with a new expression. They were looking at him like they expected him to save them. Oh no, Jake said quietly. The emergency alarms were loud and scary. Red lights flashed throughout the research lab as the station's computer voice announced, all civilians must go to emergency shelters immediately. This is not a drill. Jake looked around the room at all the scared aliens. They were looking at him like he might have answers, but he was just as confused as they were. Come on, Jake said. We need to get to the shelters. The group moved quickly through the station corridors. Jake noticed that the aliens were staying close to him, like they felt safer near him. It was strange, but he didn't have time to think about it. They reached Emergency Shelter 7, which was a large room with thick metal walls. There were already about 50 aliens inside, all looking nervous. Jake and his group found seats in a corner. What do you think is happening? Lirelai asked. Probably just pirates looking for easy cargo, Jake said. The station security can handle it. Captain Nightshade shook her head. I recognize those ship designs from the emergency alert, Void Reapers. They are not normal pirates. What's different about them? They kill everyone even if people surrender. They take what they want and destroy everything else. Jake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. How many ships? At least 12, according to the alert. The station only has 4 security ships. Before anyone could respond, they heard the sound of explosions somewhere in the station. The lights flickered, and everyone in the shelter got more scared. That was close, Dr. Songweaver whispered. More explosions followed. The station shook with each blast. Jake could hear alien voices crying and praying in languages he didn't understand. Then the lights went out completely. Emergency lighting came on, casting everything in a red glow. A new voice came over the speaker system, but it wasn't the station. "Computer, it was rough and mean. Attention insects," the voice said. "This station now belongs to the Void Reapers. We will be visiting each section to collect valuable items and individuals. Do not resist, and your death will be quick." The shelter fell completely silent, except for some aliens crying quietly. "That doesn't sound good," Jake said. "Void Reapers. Keep some prisoners as slaves," Captain Nightshade explained. "The rest they kill for fun." Jake felt angry. These pirates were threatening innocent people, including his new alien friends. But what could he do? He was just one person. The sound of metal being cut came from outside the shelter. Someone was breaking through the door. "They found us," Maya whispered. Jake looked around the shelter. There were families with children, old aliens who could barely walk, and scientists who had probably never been in a fight in their lives. None of them could defend themselves. The cutting sounds got louder. Sparks started to show through the door as the pirates cut their way in. "Is there another way out?" Jake asked. "The emergency exit?" Captain Nightshade pointed to a small door on the other side of the room. "But it leads to Section C, which is probably already captured," Jake thought quickly. If the pirates were cutting through the main door, they expected everyone to be waiting helplessly inside. They wouldn't expect anyone to fight back. "I have an idea," Jake said, "but I need everyone to stay calm and follow my lead." Lyreley grabbed his arm. "Jake, what are you thinking?" "I'm thinking these pirates have never met a human before." The main door fell open with a loud crash. 3 pirates walked in, carrying energy weapons and wearing dark armor. They looked like a mix of different alien species, all of them mean and ugly. The lead pirate was tall and thin with red skin and too many teeth. "Well, well," he said in the same voice that had come over the speakers. "Look at all these lovely prisoners." The other 2 pirates spread out to cover the room. One was short and fat with green skin. The other looked like a robot but moved like it was alive. "Everyone on the ground," the leader shouted. "Now!" Most of the aliens immediately lay down on the floor. Jake stayed standing. "You deaf human?" the leader asked, pointing his weapon at Jake. "I said on the ground." "I heard you," Jake said calmly. The pirates looked confused. Most species would be terrified of their weapons and reputation. Jake just stood there looking annoyed. "Tough guy, huh?" the fat green pirate said. "We like tough guys. They scream the loudest." "Look," Jake said, "you can still leave. Take your ships and go somewhere else. No one has to get hurt." All 3 pirates started laughing. "Did this monkey just threaten us?" the robot-looking one asked. "I think he did," the leader said. "Human, do you know who we are?" "Pirates who are about to have a very bad day." The leader stopped laughing. "Kill him!" The fat green pirate raised his weapon and fired at Jake, but Jake had been ready for it. He dove to the side as the energy blast hit the wall behind him. Before the pirate could fire again, Jake was moving. He had learned basic hand-to-hand combat in the Marines, and these pirates were not expecting him to fight back. Jake grabbed a metal chair and threw it at the fat pirate. The chair hit him in the chest and knocked him down. His weapon slid across the floor. The robot pirate turned to shoot Jake, but Jake was already too close. He punched the robot in what he hoped was its face. His fist made a loud clanging sound, and the robot staggered backward. The leader was trying to aim his weapon, but Jake was moving too fast. Jake tackled him around the waist, and they both fell to the ground. The fight was over in less than 30 seconds. Jake stood up, breathing. Hard but not really hurt. All 3 pirates were on the ground, not moving. The shelter was completely silent. Every alien was staring at Jake with wide eyes and open mouths. "Are they dead?" Lyra Lay whispered. Jake checked the pirates. "Just unconscious. They'll wake up with headaches, but they'll be fine." "You just—" Dr. Songweaver couldn't finish her sentence. "You just defeated 3 armed pirates with your bare hands," Maya said in a voice full of awe. "They weren't expecting a fight," Jake said, "and their weapons are made for scaring people, not for close combat." Captain Nightshade stood up slowly. She was staring at Jake like she was seeing him for the first time. "In all my years of military service," she said quietly, "I have never seen anything like that. You moved like death itself." "I just used basic training," Jake said. "Any Marine could have done the same thing." "Marines? Human soldiers. We train to fight without weapons in case we lose them in battle. All human soldiers can do what you just did." This was pretty easy compared to Marine training. The aliens all looked at each other with expressions of shock and fear. "Jake," Lyra Lay said in a shaky voice, "you just did something that would be impossible for any other species. You defeated 3 trained killers without weapons, without armor, without fear." "I was plenty scared," Jake said. "You did not show it. You moved like a warrior god from our oldest legends." Before Jake could argue, his communicator beeped. It was a message from station security. "Emergency Shelter 7, please respond. We lost contact during the pirate attack." Jake picked up one of the pirate weapons and activated the communicator. "This is Jake Morrison. Shelter 7 is secure. We have 3 pirate prisoners for you." "Prisoners? How did civilians capture pirates?" Jake looked around at all the aliens staring at him. "It's a long story. When station security arrived 20 minutes later, they found 3 unconscious pirates tied up with emergency shelter rope and 50 aliens who kept talking about a human warrior god who had saved them all." Jake tried to explain that he was just a normal person who got lucky, but no one believed him, especially not when word spread throughout the station that a single human had defeated 3 Void Reaper pirates with his bare hands in less than 30 seconds. By the time the pirate fleet retreated, Jake Morrison was, the most famous being on Nexus Prime, and the aliens were starting to believe that the ancient legends about warrior gods were not legends at all. They were warnings about what humans could do when they were angry. 1 week after the pirate attack, Jake's life had become completely crazy. He couldn't walk through the station without aliens stopping to stare at him. Some wanted autographs, others wanted to touch him for good luck. A few actually bowed when they saw him. Jake was sitting in his ship's dining room trying to eat breakfast in peace when Captain Martinez sat down across from him with a worried expression. "Jake, we have a problem." "Another one?" Jake asked. "What now?" 3 alien diplomatic ships just arrived at the station. "They're all here to see you." Jake almost choked on his coffee. "Diplomatic ships? Why?" "Apparently, word has spread to their homeworlds about what you did. They want to meet the human warrior god." "I'm not a warrior god." "Tell that to them. The first ship is from the Silverleaf Collective. It's carrying someone called Ambassador Luna Brightleaf. She wants to negotiate a formal alliance with what she calls the divine human empire." Jake put his head in his hands. "There is no divine human empire." "The second ship is from the Kthari Republic. They want to hire human soldiers as bodyguards for their government officials." "We're not soldiers for hire." "And the third ship?" Captain Martinez paused. "The third ship is from Earth." Jake looked up. "Earth? Your sister is on it." "Kate? What's she doing here?" "She's Admiral Kate Morrison now, commanding the rescue fleet that was sent to investigate reports of human deification in this sector." Jake groaned. His sister Kate had always been the serious one in the family. She was career military and didn't have much patience for nonsense. If she was here as an admiral, that meant Earth's government was taking this situation very seriously. "When do they want to meet?" Jake asked. "In 1 hour. Conference room 12. Jake spent the next hour trying to figure out what he was going to say. "How do you explain to diplomatic aliens that you're not actually a god? How do you convince your sister that you didn't mean to start an interstellar incident?" When he arrived at the conference room, he found a crowd waiting for him. Lyra Lay was there, along with Dr. Songweaver, Captain Nightshade, and Maya. There were also several aliens he had never met before, including a tall elf woman in fancy robes who had to be Ambassador Brightleaf. And there was Kate, Admiral Kate. Morrison was wearing her dress uniform and had the same annoyed expression she used to have when they were kids, and Jake had broken something. She looked exactly like Jake, but with longer hair and more military decorations. "Hello, little brother," she said when he walked in. "Hi, Kate. This is all a big misunderstanding." "Is it?" "Because I have reports saying you single-handedly defeated 3 armed pirates and demonstrated strength levels that violate several laws of physics. The laws of physics are fine. These aliens just come from low-gravity worlds." Ambassador Brightleaf stepped forward. She was beautiful in the way that elves always seem to be, with silver hair and gold eyes. When she spoke, her voice sounded like music. "Great Jake Morrison, divine warrior of the human gods," she said, bowing deeply. "I bring greetings from the Silverleaf Collective and a proposal for alliance between our people and your divine empire." Jake looked at his sister. "See what I mean?" Kate sighed. "Ambassador Brightleaf, my brother is not divine. He's not even particularly bright. He's just a regular human who happened to encounter aliens who come from worlds with different gravity and evolutionary pressures." "Impossible," said a new voice. A Cathari diplomat with 4 arms and purple skin stepped forward. "We have analyzed the combat recordings. No non-divine being could move with such speed and power." "What combat recordings?" Jake asked. Lyra looked embarrassed. "The shelter had security cameras. The footage of your fight with the pirates has been seen by billions of beings across the galaxy." "Billions?" "It is the most watched video in galactic history," Maya added. "Many species are calling it the day the war gods returned." Kate activated a small device, and a holographic screen appeared in the air. It showed the fight in the emergency shelter from Jake's perspective. Jake watched himself throw the chair, punch the robot, and tackle the leader. "It looks pretty normal to me," Jake said. "Jake," Kate said patiently, "you move faster than most species can see. You threw a metal chair hard enough to knock an armored pirate unconscious. You punched a combat robot and made it stagger." "It wasn't that hard," Ambassador Brightleaf gasped. "He speaks of incredible feats of strength as if they were nothing. Truly, this proves his divine nature." "No," Kate said firmly. "It proves he's a typical human who doesn't understand how weak other species are compared to us." "Weak?" The Cathari diplomat sounded offended. "Compared to humans, yes. We evolved on a high-gravity world with dangerous predators and limited resources. We had to become strong and tough to survive. You evolved on easy worlds where strength wasn't necessary." Dr. Songweaver nodded. "We have reached the same conclusion. But the result is the same. Humans possess abilities that seem godlike to us." "They're not godlike," Kate insisted. "They're just different." Captain Nightshade stood up. "Admiral Morrison, with respect, the difference is so great that the distinction is meaningless. Whether your brother is actually divine or simply evolved to be godlike, the result is the same. He possesses power that we can barely comprehend." Key was getting tired of being talked about like he wasn't there. "Look, everyone, I appreciate the attention, but I just want to go back to my normal job moving cargo around the galaxy." "Impossible," Ambassador Brightleaf said. "You are far too important. The Silverleaf Collective wishes to offer you a position as Supreme Military Advisor with a salary of 1 million credits per year. The Cathari Republic offers 2 million credits to serve as our divine protector," the purple-skinned diplomat added. "I don't want any jobs like that. I like moving cargo." Kate looked at the assembled aliens. "Ladies and gentlemen, I think there's been a fundamental misunderstanding here. My brother is not unique among humans. There are billions of humans, and most of them are stronger than Jake." The room fell completely silent. "Billions?" Ambassador Brightleaf whispered. "Most stronger than the divine Jake?" the Cathari diplomat asked in a shaky voice. "Oh, yes," Kate said cheerfully. "Jake was never particularly athletic. Our mother can probably bench press more than he can." "Your mother?" Dr. Songweaver asked. "She's 62 years old and goes to the gym every day. Sweet old lady, but she could probably arm wrestle Jake and win." Jake nodded. "Mom's pretty tough." The aliens all looked at each other with expressions of pure terror. "How many humans like your mother exist?" Maya asked carefully. "Millions," Kate said. Earth has a very fitness-oriented culture. Most humans exercise regularly. And how many humans have military training like Jake? Captain Nightshade asked. Oh, probably a few 100 million current and former military. Earth takes defense seriously. Ambassador Brightleaf sat down heavily. Hundreds of millions of warriors like Jake? Actually, most of our soldiers are better trained than Jake, Kate said. He was just a basic Marine. We have special forces, elite units, people who train their whole lives for combat. Better trained than the divine Jake? The Cathari diplomat squeaked. Much better. Jake, tell them about the Navy SEALs. I don't think that's a good idea, Jake said quickly. But it was too late. Lyrelei was already taking notes furiously. What are these Navy SEALs? Kate smiled. Elite warriors who can swim for miles underwater, fight in any environment, and complete impossible missions. They're basically what you would consider super gods. Super gods, Ambassador Brightleaf repeated faintly. And they're just one type of elite soldier. We have dozens of different special forces units. The room was so quiet that Jake could hear the air recycling system humming. Finally, Captain Nightshade spoke up. Admiral Morrison, are you saying that Jake is actually one of the weaker humans? Oh, definitely. He's perfectly average, maybe even a little below average for strength and combat ability. Jake tried to protest, but Kate continued. I mean, he never even made it past basic Marine training. Our real warriors are much more impressive. Ambassador? Brightleaf stood up shakily. I must return to my ship immediately. We need to reconsider our entire approach to human relations. Good idea, Kate said. I suggest treating humans as friends rather than gods. We're much more reasonable when we're not being worshipped. The Cathari diplomat was backing toward the door. Yes, friends. Friends are good. Not gods. Definitely not gods. As the aliens filed out of the room, Jake could hear them talking in worried whispers about billions of super gods and divine warrior armies. When the room was empty except for Jake and Kate, she turned to him with a grin. Well, little brother, you've certainly made things interesting around here. This is all your fault, Jake said. You made it sound like Earth is full of unstoppable warriors. Earth is full of unstoppable warriors compared to these aliens. Did you see how terrified they got when I mentioned Mom's bench press? Jake had to admit that was pretty funny. So what happens now? He asked. Now you go back to moving cargo, and I handle the diplomatic mess you created by doing push-ups. I still can't believe push-ups started all this. Kate laughed. Wait until they find out about CrossFit. 6 months later, Jake was back to his normal job, but he was also Earth's first cultural exchange ambassador. He spent his time traveling between